Hey, we're back. It's another week, and there's a lot that happened, but mostly let's just start with Raw. Um, what happened on Raw this week?
Uh,
The most important thing.
they added some sound effects to the Strowman Express, and that's putting it mildly. Um, I mean, he's been doing it for what 2 years now, where he charges around the ring like a locomotive, and now it sounds like like a locomotive is running around the ring. Um, so yeah, that's easily the most important part of Raw from this week.
I think what also liked it is I think it was Jackson Riker. He didn't even really like get hit. He like basically just jumped backwards on the table.
Yeah,
Like,
he set up his own bump. Like he didn't get hit at all. Um,
oh man,
I mean, all 300. Well, I guess he's down to. I guess he's 345 now. Strowman.
yeah, something like that.
All
Yeah.
345 pounds of him just mowed through Elias. But Riker was like, "No, hell no. I'll do it myself. It's fine."
Oh man. So let's just jump back to Fastlane. I ended up watching this last night. I think for me, I'll just go ahead and say that for me the highlight was the Sheamus and Drew match, with a caveat that watching um that package they put together, it was really sweet actually, and I really had a hard time believing they really like had much of a beef with each other. Like,
I by the
maybe in that way where like those guys is like, oh, we're just gonna beat each other because we had a minor disagreement, but we're still best friends.
I half
So
expected that one to end with them like fist bumping or something,
yeah.
because that was just kind of the way it was teed up, and I I got to give them credit. In the course of 8 days, Sheamus put on three just brutal friggin' matches. Um, I mean, the two consecutive Raws with Lashley, and then that match with Drew, he just got the shit beat out of him. Um, like that. This, I mean, you want to talk about a workhorse? He is definitely putting in the work here lately, and it
And how about
appears
that white noise?
it appears
Oh,
after Raw that he went from feuding with both world heavyweight champion contender guys to just randomly. I expect he's going to have a United States Championship match at WrestleMania. So I
oh,
guess
or
it
some
was
kind of
worth.
multi-person match they're gonna add.
I I mean, I don't know why he had to destroy a poor man's scooter, but if it means he's going to
Ah,
get in another brutal slugfest with somebody. I mean, Riddle can throw down. Dude's UFC trained, so. But
yeah. I mean, I think
what
that was
else
one thing I
happened
was
on
noticing too
Fastlane? Most of it was
in that
forgettable.
match with Drew. Yeah, the match with Drew and Sheamus, it was definitely a lot stiffer than um than a lot of the other matches. Not to say the other matches were bad per se, except for maybe a couple of them. But they just really went at it, and you could just tell that they were going to lay it in and make it look as real as possible. Because they trusted each other too. I think that's another thing. They've known each other so long; they trust each other. Um, but I think what we had, some other things that happened. What first come to mind was the stiff shots. Also with Big E versus Apollo Crews, who I don't know. I don't dig the inexplicably like this is how I actually talk. I've been hiding it for forever. It's like a weird Vince McMahon thing, like that he
It's a
realized after
reverse
all these years.
Kofi.
These yeah, and which upon looking up everything, by the way, so Kofi is his family is from Ghana,
Yep.
and Big E's parents are actually from one of his parents is from Jamaica. Like in the New Day, like Big E's the one with the actual Jamaican connection. But that's a weird other subject. I don't know. I thought it started strong. I know the ending apparently didn't go how they wanted it to. I'll be honest. I looked down for a moment, and all of a sudden, it was over. And
I felt that way about a handful of the matches on this show. Like at the
mm,
women's tag title match was the same thing for me. Like I turned because the dogs did something, and the match was just over. Um,
yeah,
so there
yeah,
was
I
there
think.
was a lot of that.
I mean, that match had something to do with the ending. Had to do with Reginald distracting stuff, and that whole thing is like good on him for having a job still. Like he's hung on, and I feel like he's going to be some kind of like somehow he's going to get the next Money in the Bank briefcase. That they're going to just give him one, and he's somehow going to cash in on the women's tag team titles. Not anything to do with anything else with the men's titles. Um, I I don't know. I don't understand. They've really gotten a lot of life out of this sommelier like storyline, but why? This thing, I think it's just one of these things that like infinitely amuses Vince McMahon. That
Yeah,
seems to be the only explanation by it.
there's it's got to be just something that Vince thought was funny. Because I don't get it. And where the hell is Carmella?
Yeah,
Like the whole point of Reginald was Carmella, and now Carmella's just not around. It doesn't make any damn sense. Does she have COVID too? Is that? I mean, that's
yeah,
how we finally figured out how why Charlotte's not on TV because she's got damn COVID. But
yeah,
um, yeah, I don't know where the hell Carmella disappeared to, but
yeah. I mean, hopefully she's all right. I mean, Graves is on TV, so if she's got COVID, then he's somehow managed to avoid it, or maybe he already had it. Who knows? Um, how about your favorite match of I think there might be a two-way tie for your favorite match, right? I'm going to guess your favorite match is either going to be the Old Spice 24/7 championship defense or Randy Orton versus Alexa Bliss. Which one is it?
I oh Jesus, I've I gotta go with the Old Spice. I think our truth emerging from the Old Spice counter transformer that he was hiding in. Uh, that was awesome. And the Old Spice guy temporarily being 24/7 champion. I was a little disappointed that it was just kind of a rando instead of one of the actual Old Spice guys,
Yeah,
because that would have been kind of cool. I mean, you can't no, probably not going to get Terry Crews, but you can get the other
the
guy.
other guy.
Um, but yeah, I got to give a slight edge just because of how weird it was. Because they haven't really done any of those super weird advertisement tie-ins in a while. Um, so this one it caught me off
Not really.
guard, and I think that was the best part of it. I mean
Yeah,
the Cricket Wireless. What is it? A jelly bean? I don't know what the hell that thing is. It hasn't been 24/7 champion yet, but this random Old Spice guy has. So I mean that it was probably one of the more outside of Drew Sheamus. I've got to say that was one of the more entertaining parts of the show.
what did you think about the continuing storyline of Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton and the man formerly known as the Fiend?
Um, I feel like they took a bunch of Fiend masks and applied various degrees of heat to them, and then they were like, "I like the way this one melted. This is what you look like now." Um, I don't know why he suddenly has different clothes on. Um,
Yeah,
or why it's not just like a melty looking version of his other outfit. But whatever. Um, like I texted you earlier, I think that the more and they would have had to like really push it hard. Uh, I think commentary should have just disregarded the Fiend entirely. Um,
mm,
they should have done one of those quick cuts like the cinematic matches, and Alexa Bliss is being, the bell's ringing and she's being named the winner, and the Fiend is not there. There's no hole in the mat,
yeah.
like it was all in Randy's head. Um, I think it would have made a lot more. It would have felt more cohesive with the story they've been telling. Because he really did. He came back through the ring like a melty cane, and that just didn't do it for me. And I really need to know how that match got a clean pinfall finish. A demon emerged from hell and interfered in that match. A match that already had no like count being done the entire
Yeah.
time he slowly followed her around the ring. But a demon came through the ring out of a fiery pit, hit Sister Abigail, and this is not a disqualification in a standard wrestling match. Somebody's got to they got to rectify that for me because that's the one part of it I had a little trouble with.
Yeah, I think especially in the time where there's no actual crowds, and one of the few times when they could have done it, and especially if they're going to have crowds for Mania, like this would have been the perfect time to do a cinematic match. Don't announce it ahead of time. Like all of a sudden something happens and like there's no commentators there on the table. Like you could still do it in the Thunderdome, right? But like pre-taped in the Thunderdome where something happens and like something just snaps and no one else is there. That could have been cool. No actual finish, and then you could have add the real match at Mania or something with the Fiend and Randy Orton with fans there. Obviously you can't do these tricks. Like it doesn't make sense to do a cinematic thing. Like of all this time, you don't want to show something on the screen when you finally have fans in the arena. So I think that was a big missed opportunity. And then just, yeah, no consistency on any of the kind of the rules or anything.
Yeah, I think too, and you don't watch Raw terribly often, but the thing that had been kind of a thread the last few weeks was when Alexa would do her little videos to get inside Randy's head. There were these clips where there was like Dark Randy, and like he had Fiend voice.
Yeah.
If I feel like they could have had, and I know this is a slippery slope that they didn't really want to go down, but I honestly had Randy just like stormed across the ring, RKO'd the shit out of Alexa Bliss and got the pin. And when he stood up, he was like Dark Randy and the Fiend was behind him, just kind of like
Mm.
watching what he had done. I'd have been all for it. I mean, yeah, it's 265-pound Randy Orton RKOing the living shit out of 95-pound Alexa Bliss. But I mean, it's one move. He's hit it a million times, so he can do it clean. Nobody's going to get hurt. They can progress a story that way. Um, Let him go dark. I mean, I don't need to see Orton Fiend 87. Um, give me Dark Orton succumbing to the voices that the Fiend is putting in his head or something. Um, I mean, weird, creepy Alexa is probably okay eating an RKO if it gets them to, that point. I mean, they could even keep her in the fold because it doesn't ruin that story if they go that kind of route.
Yeah.
But
Too bad they don't have a like a Randy Orton lookalike like they do with Brock, because then you could do a lot with all of this. I think the thing I'm worried about is just like, even though it's a completely different set of circumstances and stuff like that, I feel like we're on the same road to that weird maggot match, like the one where they projected all those maggots in the ring and stuff like that,
yeah, I mean
in
that the
Orlando. It feels similar, even with
how
Alexa involved.
how many times do we need Orton Wyatt at WrestleMania? Like it's gonna be it's going to be pretty much the exact same thing because they're. It's like they seem to think that people don't remember anything beyond like a year and a half ago,
Right.
because they just sell out on long form storytelling in its entirety. Um, but it's the weirdest thing that they just keep going back to the what. I mean, we're clearly on the road to getting Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn again. Even though the last time they had a major pay per view match, it was hailed as the last time this match will happen. Like you can't bill a match as that if you're going to go back to it later. Um, so
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where it feels like they're a little lazy, but there were so many ways they could have gone with this and didn't, and I think that's why That's that. Honestly, that's why the Old Spice match was it got a leg up in my standings here. Because there were just, you knew the Fiend was going to be a part of it at this one. Um, but I think there were so many directions they could have gone and they didn't, and it is a little disappointing, especially when you come back on Raw the next night and like Orton's throwing gasoline on the Fiend again, and then he just eats a mandible claw Sister Abigail, and the show ends. Like, you're not getting us anywhere. This is just the Fiend popping up and hitting his move again. Um,
If for nothing else, I'm thankful, and if it's the last time we saw John Cena, it would be a shame on one level, but almost kind of beautiful if that weird Fiend John Cena cinematic match was the last time we saw John Cena. And if that's the case, I will ever be thankful for the Fiend and getting us to that weird place. Because I think for someone like Cena, that's actually like some kind of like wonderful retirement match for him. So I'll always be thankful for that. It's just like there's so many different ways they could have gone with all this since Mania last year, and it's just gone all the wrong directions. And involving Alexa was a good idea, but then it went the wrong directions. So it's just I don't understand really.
and
So
she's been a kind of the saving grace of this whole thing. She added a level to it that it desperately needed, or it would have gotten stale a hell of a long time ago. Um, we still haven't investigated the fact that Randy Orton burned a man alive. Now, mind you, this is a man who Randy Orton also burned his house down, also desecrated his dead sister's ashes. We've let Randy Orton get away with a lot of stuff at Bray Wyatt's expense. So but we're kind of, they're exhausting it. So they've got to find some way to cap this thing at WrestleMania and it just be done. Um, but I don't know where you go. I'm more worried about Alexa Bliss than anybody else coming out of this, because this has to end. And then what do you do with Alexa Bliss at that point? Like,
I was thinking the same thing. It's just like Bray can go on in some degree, some other way. Like
I
he
mean,
can reinvent himself or
I
whatever.
I don't know if it was because somebody decided like they needed to do this Bobby Lashley thing. But
Hmm.
Bray was in the early stages of just a full on feud with the entire Hurt business for a couple of weeks, and then it just disappeared, and they went back to the Randy Orton crap. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know what happened with that, but I was really interested in the idea of the Fiend terrorizing an entire faction.
right. I think with Alexa, I was having the exact same thought when I was watching Fastlane last night. It's like, where do you go with her when this is done? When this is inevitably done? I can't imagine this is going on much longer than WrestleMania. Not without like them bringing in someone new, because I just don't even see. I don't know. I think you need to cool it for a while, and then how do you return Alexa to a normal person? It's just like she wakes up and she's like, oh yeah, I don't know what that was about, but I'm okay now.
Yeah,
Hey
because
Nikki, you want to be my friend
I
again?
mean, like the only out they had was for Nikki Cross to kind of help her out of it, but they strung this out and like shit the bed on that as a possibility at any point. So I'm really, and you don't need Dark Alexa at this point on Raw. Um, I mean, I guess you could move her to SmackDown because they don't really have that like edgy female character. And
Yeah,
it's weird to kind of phrase it like that, but most of SmackDown's women's roster is pretty straightforward. Um, but I mean, now you've got Rhea Ripley on Raw, so there's not really anywhere to put this dark Alexa character.
man. Well, that's a good segue at least. Speaking of Rhea Ripley, it's probably one of my top matches at Mania now. Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. At least I know that's going to be a good hard hitting match, and I don't have to worry about the whole thing with Charlotte last year. So, I think it'll be a good match. Whether or not she gets the championship or not is I don't think it matters. But if it does, that's extra cool. Like it's kind of a whole page moment type thing. Um, but if not, like, yeah, I think it'll be cool.
I think she
I'm,
will.
I'm
I think they kind of know they screwed the pooch last year,
mhm.
having her drop her belt to Charlotte. Um, this is as excited as I am for this match. It does feel like just sort of a knee jerk. Oh shit, Charlotte's out. We need to have something we can work with for a couple of weeks. Um,
Yeah.
and you said you watched Raw.
I just saw clips of it, so I didn't
I
actually watch it.
I would actually I really hope that match that Asuka had with Peyton Royce last night is the start of a push for Peyton Royce, because that match was great. Um,
Mm.
I mean, she is excellent in the ring, and working with somebody like Asuka just made her look that much better. But she could be one of the top women on Raw. Um, but I think we're getting to that point where uh, Asuka's had the belt for quite a while, and
Yeah.
they need to rectify last year's Rhea Ripley kind of snafu.
Well, and then that too, you've lost, like Oscar literally lost some teeth, so maybe it'd be nice for her to have like a little bit of a break, just to heal up and feel better. Um, but yeah, like I think it would be really cool. That would probably be one of my highlights of the show. After Miz versus Bad Bunny, because that'll be great. So, I mean, I'll give Bad Bunny props. He's definitely like put the work in, like more than maybe like Stephen Amell is the next closest person, like to like seriously putting in the
I mean,
training to do this.
I I'm not going to put any of them on the same level as Pat McAfee, because that dude
Well,
he stole that takeover for me. Like,
so I will say, like when Miro was pushing the Shaq match, it was like the best celebrity like match that you've seen or whatever like that, and then Pat McAfee was like, "What about me?" And I was like, "I said the best celebrity," and it was just like, "Oh, so you consider me a wrestler? That's awesome. I'm super flattered." And so I kind of think the same way. I think
yeah,
he's really putting the work in and to be a real wrestler. Bad Bunny is going to go back to just to making music, doing what he does. Like Shaq, obviously going back to inside the NBA, doing all the weird icy hot commercials he does. But yeah, Pat McAfee, I feel like he can step in and out anytime. He's more of a part timer than a celebrity. Also, I don't know a lot of people that know Pat McAfee, so yeah.
I do have to give Bad Bunny credit, because he nailed Miz with that guitar. I mean, that was a Jeff Jarrett caliber guitar shot that he threw in on Raw. Um, that was
He's a
something
fan, you can
else. Yeah.
tell. Yeah,
Uh,
he's definitely a fan, and you can
I,
tell, and that's pretty cool.
I'm assuming they're going to get to the point where it's a tag match, because it feels a little weird to just do the singles match with like a guy in each corner when you could just do a
Mhm.
tag match. That way you kind of protect Bad Bunny, let Damian Priest do the majority of the bumps, and then he can hit, the big spot or two they've got planned. So I assume that's where we're going to go with it. Plus it's sort of a waste if Johnny WrestleMania is not on WrestleMania. So
I mean, I think, but if they don't, it's the faith that they have in Bad Bunny that he's actually going to put on a decent show. I
sorry,
think at the very least,
Johnny Drip
if it's
Drip.
still if they're not, they keep it a singles match, then I think it's those guys will definitely be in their corners. Like it's not like they won't be on the show at all,
Oh yeah.
um, but yeah, I think there's a possibility that it's just a singles match, which is pretty cool. Um, and then what other confirmed matches do we have so far? I mean, besides the title matches. Oh, so well, the speaking of Fastlane, we have the ending of the Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan match. I think as of recently, they're still calling it an Edge versus Roman Reigns, but I feel like the door's open for them to make it a Daniel Bryan triple threat.
I can't decide if they are just teasing that, and
Hmm.
maybe it's to get the belt to Edge, and then Edge Daniel Bryan. They're going to work for a couple of months to SummerSlam. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't. I don't know if they're going to go triple threat on it. Honestly, I thought that we were getting closer to um, Drew, Sheamus, Lashley than
Mhm.
because I don't know that they're going to throw a third person in on the spear versus spear match, because then you lose the what you've built for a couple of weeks now. But I mean, it would be a great match, and even with the two challengers, I'm still not voting against Roman Reigns. But yeah, they may be going that route, but I think it's more of a, and I'll give them credit if it's more of a longer work to get us to an Edge Daniel Bryan solo title shot.
How about some new music for Roman Reigns? I thought I heard we were getting new music like 4 months ago, and then there's still nothing, and we're still rocking that Shield music. It's just like,
Yeah,
come on.
I don't know what the holdup is there, unless I kind of, if they are going, if they do pull the trigger on triple threat or whatnot, or maybe just give Edge the belt, I think it could be that Roman may end up on a short hiatus to film something,
Mhm.
maybe. And then maybe he comes back from that with new music. So they didn't want to like pull the trigger on it if he was leaving again for a bit. Um,
Right.
I don't know that for sure. I'm just that was the best I could come up with as an excuse to why they haven't done that yet. Because everybody else got to walk away from the Shield. Why can't he?
Well, I'm still looking forward to it. Either way, I think it'll be good.
Yeah,
Um, do we have any challenger for Bailey? Do we have any challenger yet for Bailey for that championship? Just trying to
Sasha
think
has
of
the
those.
belt.
Oh, Sasha
Yeah,
that has the
it's
belt.
Sasha
Okay, my
Bianca
bad.
for the SmackDown Women's
Oh, and then
Championship.
Asuka has the other belt.
Yeah.
My bad. Hope no one's been relying on me to keep track of any of these titles
Well,
because there's too many of them. And
maybe we'll get lucky, and Bailey will find a tag team partner that she actually likes, and then she'll get a tag title shot. Maybe she can team with Reginald, and
yeah,
they'll be the women's tag team champions.
I
Bailey
just
and
can't
her
believe they got.
sommelier.
I can't believe they got rid of the Iconics for nothing.
Yeah,
Really,
I mean
like
they've
when
turned Billy Kay into comic relief, and then Peyton Royce was just nowhere until she randomly got that Oscar match on Raw. And thank God she
yeah,
showed out, because maybe it'll do something for her. But I mean, essentially, she was relegated to a Ricochet role. Um,
yeah.
I
Is
make a point to mention him on every podcast. I,
he might be deleted from Raw episodes, but yeah.
I love you, Ricochet.
Oh man. All right. Well, like, review, subscribe. I think I remembered it this time. I think we're available on like literally every podcasting platform you could probably think of, including a whole ton that I didn't even realize. But you can look at on our website for like underneath each post, there's a little button that says like listen to our podcast or something, or subscribe to our podcast, and there's like a ton of buttons for all these different podcast platforms I never listened to. So if for some reason you're listening on something else and you're like, oh man, I want to listen to on stupid platform, you can do that too. Uh,
Yeah, where they work in Blue Chew ads during our podcast.
yeah. I think we can turn on ads. We might start doing that in these future weeks to monetize it for the two podcast listeners. So we'll try to make them fun. I don't know, and just for the novelty of doing them, I think. Um, but anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.